Okay, hello and salutations everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cleaning and Restoring. In this one, we will be doing the Atari 2600 Junior, which I don't know much about. I've never actually seen one in real life. I just had, of course, my friend, the same friend who's had every console I've done pretty much. He's gave this to me and said I need you to clean this for me. So, what else am I going to do on my Wednesday after finals but clean a console? Which is what I want to do, honestly. Not much to be said about this. It is basically the playing ability of a 2600 put in a small case that looks very similar to the 7800. But without further ado, let's just jump right into cleaning and restoring the Atari 2600 Junior. So when you flip it over, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Phillips head screws. You just need a standard Phillips head screwdriver to get those out. So the first step would obviously be to take those out. Okay, I've gone ahead and taken all 5 screws out. They're pretty easy to get out, and they're also all the same size, so you don't need to worry about separating them, honestly. And judging by every Atari I've ever cleaned, and I've actually done a lot, just not on camera, I know that generally there's no screws holding the inside together. The inside is held together by the same screws that hold the outside together. So I'm gonna guess that there aren't any screws inside this, but I don't want you guys to hold me to that. So I'm assuming you can just lift off the top, and I assumed correctly. Okay, it seems like you have to slide it or unhook it somewhere down on this end. Or maybe it's just too tight down there. I'm not sure. I'm going to figure this out off camera and then tell you how to go about doing the next step. Okay, I figured out why I couldn't get this open. There's little clips inside this air vent area right here that are holding the top and the bottom together since there's no area to put a screw. The 2 screws on the bottom are right here, however there's nowhere to put a screw here. So the way I'm going to go about doing this is taking a flathead screwdriver, putting it in, and you'll be able to see the clips. There's one on each end and then there's one dead center. I'm going to put it in and then push it out. And at the same time, I'm going to be lifting the 2 halves of the console apart, so that way I can undo the clips in a row. And I got one off. You heard it. It was pretty loud. So now I'm going to get the other 2 out off camera, and then I'll show you the innards of Atari Junior. Okay, everyone, I've gotten all 3 of the clips undone, and I want to warn you, there's a cable holding the top and the bottom half of the console together, so you're going to kind of flip it over this way so that these buttons are still close. So just do as I do, basically. And you see there's the ID cable holding those in place. So first we'll go to the bottom of the thingamajiggamabobber console. That's what it is. And I'm pretty sure, like I said, that this is like every Atari and that you can just lift out the motherboard. Although this one isn't coming out very easily. There are. Just like the lid, there's clips on each side. You can see there's one right here, one right here. You're going to push those to the side with your finger. And do the same thing over here. And then you should be able to get your motherboard out. Alright, so let's put the lid and the motherboard aside, and we'll look at the bottom, because there's not really much to it. There's just basically a piece of plastic. And basically this is just a piece of plastic, like I just said, and all you have to do is really wash this. This is obviously washable, just plastic. So I'm going to wash this with soap and water, and I guess that's it for that part. So let's go to the lid of the console. There's a piece of plastic broken in here. Alright, so for the lid of the console, you can take the buttons off just like you take off any other button on a console. There's 2 tabs on each side. Hope you can see this. You pinch them hard enough. This one's kind of stubborn, I'm not going to lie. These both probably are because they're designed the exact same way, so I don't see why they wouldn't be. But you push each tab on the side and then push it out, and there is one of your buttons. And I'm just going to hope that these are identical, because if not, then I'm going to have a tissy. Or I could just look up a picture of one of these. I'm going to try to get the other one out. Usually if one is stubborn, it's better to push that one in first. It's easier to get. So obviously these are washable. Now you'll notice they have little grooves in them. And that's a sweet spot. I don't know if you can see this, but that's a really easy spot for dirt to get stuck. This one has a big stain in it. So what I do for stuff like that is I'm going to get a toothpick and soak this in water and then scrape the toothpick in each little groove to make it as easy as possible to get to, or get all the dirt out, I should say. Okay, now this is a little complicated because I'm not sure how to go about doing this. I'm sure that this can just slide out, but I don't want to risk, or do I want to risk it? Actually, I don't think I do because this is my friend's. So the lid of this may not be cleanable as far, well, it probably is, but it's not the dirtiest in the world. You can get these off too, and I'm going to show you in a minute. But this isn't actually dirty. This looks filthy, but there's a really easy way to fix that. So what I'm going to do is, you'll see on these, these have the same thing. I think they do at least. They have two little plastic tabs on the top and bottom, and you can just pop them out. So I'm going to do that off camera because they look kind of difficult to get to. Okay, I've gotten both little buttons out. Yeah, they were just little plastic tabs that you had to snap out, and they'll probably snap back in just as easily. Same thing goes with these. There's little grooves in them, and also there's indented thing that says push. Just scratch at that with a toothpick or something like that to get all that little dirt out of there that you really can't get. So for the main board right here, this part, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean. This is actually really clean for how old these consoles are. I'm going to just clean this with air, like compressed air, just kind of blowing around hoping for the best, and I'll get in here really well. It doesn't look like there's any dirt in there though. And I'm going to see if this slides out. And it does not. And if it slides out here, okay, so you can take this out from here and it'll just slide back in really easily, just kind of pinch it back in. But I'm not sure if this is washable, so I'm not going to wash this. If you know for a fact that, oh, this is just a little piece of plastic, it's fine, then you can go ahead and wash it. However, I'm not going to risk it because I don't know how much technology works. So I'm going to clean this off with air. And for this, since I'm going to just rinse it down with water in areas, not this area though, obviously. And for this part right here, if you notice, this one still has the original tape that covers the logo right here. I'm sure you didn't notice that. But I'm actually going to take this off, and you'll see the difference in color and clean this right here. That made a huge difference. Alright, so that's just garbage to throw away. So, go ahead and clean all the plastic parts. Like I said, do a spot cleaning of this, clean up here as much as possible without getting around here. Maybe use Q-tips if there's only certain areas that are dirty. You can also clean the bottom half of the console and all 4 of the buttons that you took out. So that's basically it. So I will be back with how to put it together after I clean everything. Alright, here's a little side note. Right here where my finger's pointing, you're not going to be able to see it, but there's a tiny little plastic cylindrical tab sticking up. That is actually the only thing holding that little ribbon in place. So if you can get it off that little tab, then you can actually pull it out. And what I've done was I actually put it back into the brain of the system right here, so that I know where it goes and everything. So that's just a little tip because I'm sure you guys were struggling with that like I was trying to clean around it. So that's how to get that out. So sorry I couldn't do it on video, but I just realized that as I was cleaning it. Okay, so at this point you're ready to put everything in your Atari back together. So the first thing we're going to do is take the top of it and put these 2 buttons back in. So let's set everything else aside for right now at least. So we're going to put these 2 buttons in, and these are the ones that have the square bottom on them, and they don't say push on them. And they can go in either direction. They just kind of push down in. These ones, I'm not sure if they're like this in all Ataris, but these ones are really tight and hard to get in. But you can snap them back in with enough brute force. Alright, so once those are in, I'll set this aside. We're going to go to the bottom half of the console. And we're going to put this in. Make sure that all the ports here line up correctly with all the holes down here. You're just going to drop it into place. There's really not much to it. And make sure it's, that pinched my finger, that actually hurt a lot. Make sure it's clipped in place down here so that you can actually not lift it out. And now comes the only hard part of this whole thing. We're going to take this ribbon and feed it back up through these slots. If I could even do it, there we go. Until the hole comes through and lines up with that little did it. And I got it in, but then I accidentally disconnected it from the bottom. That's why I told you guys to be careful originally when we were taking the console apart. Alright, I'm going to get this back in off camera to save you guys the struggle. Okay, I've got it successfully plugged back in and fed through these holes. And if you're having trouble putting the two halves of the console down together, it's probably because of these switches. They both have to be down, unless you took it apart while it was on. That's a bad idea, though. So I'm going to put these two little push buttons back in. And they just go in the same way the other one did. You just kind of have to force them in. But these ones were really difficult to get out, so they're probably really difficult to get back in. Oh, my Lord have mercy. This is just a whole bundle. This console is just a whole big mess to take apart. I do want to do this off camera, but I don't at the same time because of how many jump cuts I've already made. Let's use a screwdriver to try to poke it back in. There it goes. Alright, we'll do the other one real quick. Alright, so now these are in and they spring back up okay. And now all you have to do is put your 5 little Phillips head screws back in. So I'm going to do that on camera because I'm going to talk a little bit. I have been extremely busy today. I had to take finals during school today, so I had to take a 2-hour-long test in gym, a 2-hour-long test in biology, and then a 2-hour-long test in geometry. So I didn't have a very fun school day. And I had my friend Tio, linked to his channel in the description, come over and bring some consoles over to clean. And I'll show you guys after this everything that's around me. This is one of them, but this is just one of honest to God many. He had an original Xbox where the disk drive wasn't closing, so we had to take that apart to see what was wrong with it. He had an NES to clean, 2 Xbox controllers, and another Atari 7800. So I'll show you guys everything after I'm done putting this together. This is the last screw. But now that I've put it back together, we're done. Here is a nice cleaned and restored Atari 2600. So now I will take you guys on a little tour of everything in my basement. So here's all the little pieces like screws and buttons. You remember these buttons from the Atari 7800 video I made. There's Xbox screws and controller screws over there. So now I'm going to take you over to all the parts. And you can see there's quite a few. Here's the Atari 7800. NES parts are all right here. Here's a few Xbox parts right here. And then here's 2 Xbox controllers taken apart. And if you follow me over here, here's all the electronic pieces. There's one controller right there, one controller right there. That's just the pieces around the disk drive of an Xbox. Brain of an Xbox, H drive of an Xbox, brain of an NES, and brain of an Atari 7800. So I got a lot going on right now. So videos may be slower, and I also don't have anything to do on video right now. But if you liked it, thank you for watching, and please leave a like or subscribe.